everyone, today we're going to talk about my DIY Hex Tarp. As you can see, this is the material. It's 1.1 sil poly from Ripstop by the roll. It's the regular width, so that's 58 inches. And we'll start at the pretty much the most important part of a tarp, which is the ridgeline. Here's the ridgeline seam. What I did with this is I took this side to this side and I sewed them together once with one stitch, and then I took this 5/8 grosgrain and then I put a stitch on either side, and that's how I attached the ridgeline. I did that with my winter tarp and it worked really well. I put these triangle pieces on the end for the tie outs, and if you go under here and look on this tarp, this is the only tarp I did, this is the only place I did these patches for it. And as you can see, sewed back, and right now what we're doing is waiting for the seam sealer to dry. And I seam sealed, as you can tell, like I talked about, that's one stitch on the side and that's one stitch on the side, and I don't know if you can tell it, but that's the seam. The stitches kind of sandwich the seam. And just to give you a little bit of specs of this tarp, the ridge line is about 11.5 feet, and the width on each side is 58 inches minus a little bit, because that's what the material was. I didn't cut the material. You come on the sides, and as you can tell here, I did cat cuts. I did 5-inch cat cuts on the side and also on the bottom. And for the side pullouts, which is something that's very important that you need to do if you have a tarp with a lot of material on the side, which is this, I did this little design right here. It's from the winter tarp tutorial on Dutchware. I'll put a link to that. But I really like the way that where it holds the rope is going up and down instead of side to side, which is how my hammock gear tarp has it. And it's really made for you to stake each of the corners out separately, and I normally never do that because I don't have enough spaces to stake it out, or I just have my trekking poles. So I do something similar to what this yellow line is doing, this yellow zinget, with my trekking pole. And then we're going to come now to the actual pullouts for the sides of the tarp. Did this little design right here where it comes out and goes out, and then you have a little piece of grosgrain right there, triangle D-rings. Backside you can kind of see what I did. Kind of take one piece of grosgrain ribbon and then you about make like a little 90-degree angle right there. You can see it going up and then going up, and then you sew these kind of half moon shapes to right there, and then you sew another half moon shape, and then you go across, and then you take the ribbon that's going to go into the triangle ring right here, loop it through the ring, and then sew on top of that. This is a pretty popular corner sewing for a leading tarp manufacturer in the cottage industry. I saw it in one of mine and I decided to use it on this tarp. It works really well. You don't have to put a backing reinforcement piece on it because you are actually sewing into the grosgrain ribbon, and it worked really well on the tarp doors, the door tie outs from our winter tarp. So I decided to do this on the actual side pullouts, and it worked really well. And we'll just go around the tarp so you guys can see it. All the pullouts look like that. Has the backing piece, and it has 1/2-inch piece of grosgrain, and then it has little BCDs, the 1/2-inch BCDs. And you can see on this side, similar, you have the backing piece made out of 200D Oxford pack material, I think is what it's called. I used gray because that's this material I already had for my winter tarp I had left over, so I just used the triangles for that. So come in here and you can see that there is plenty of room in here. I'm hunched down a little bit, but I'm 5'7". I purposely put it a little bit low so I would be able to seam seal the top of the ridgeline earlier. And there's plenty of space in here. And one other thing that I'm going to note about this tarp before we get done is to have triangles right here on the side pullouts. On my other winter tarp I put BCDs, but the issue with BCDs on the side pullouts is that you can't use porch mode with your trekking poles because the hole is too small to fit over the top of the trekking poles. So I learned my lesson on that. I got these nice plastic rings from Ripstop by the roll, which is also where I got the 1.1 sil poly. This color is called green tea, And you're going to be wondering what this spot is and that spot, and this is another big spot right there, and you can see one spot over there up above the pullout. Those were the sewing machine ate the tarp while I was making it. I tried really hard to avoid that, but ended up digging it out. So that's my DIY hex tarp.